Recorded. All right, good evening, my friends. Thank you for joining. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late. Like I said, um, yeah, we just had a pretty major event in our town, and our friends lost their house, and she was just coming to get her kids in. The chaos, but which is actually a good like leeway into the whole pillar talk. But tonight I want to share one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite topics to present on. Whenever someone asks me to present, this is always the first thing that I feel is relevant to everybody at any time. And it's one of those topics that constantly you can come back to and should come back to. And you're always in a different place, so you're always going to get a different take on these pillars. And it really is your framework and your foundation for life. And so I know there's a good amount of you here that are familiar with the 8 pillars of health, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And there are some of you that are very brand new, and then some that have maybe had it in some other group programs we've had or different environments. But like I said, I wanted to bring this in, and I do want to talk about at the end. I'm not here to like sell you on anything, but this leads perfectly. We are going to be doing a 21-day reset as a group. If that's something that you were interested in and wanted some more community and accountability, but I'm going to share the tools tonight that if you're someone that, you want to do it on your own, I think that this is so valuable. So I just want to make sure everybody has something they leave with. And if you're kind of like, oh, I want this support and community, we do have a 21-day group experience of this together. But let me share so a little background actually first before we go into that. So it used to be the 7 pillars of health. And after the pandemic in 2020, we brought in the 8th pillar, which I never say that one pillar is more important than the other. I think they all flow together, and it is why I actually look at it as like a wheel. But that is the pillar of connection. And we'll talk about each of the pillars and the importance of them. But this connection piece we saw through the pandemic, and now even more so, I think it's just gotten harder. People are in the world where we're so connected, which we are logging in here today, but we're seeing each other. We have different kind of communication at VFit. But connection is a vital part of how we're wired. It is something that keeps our brain going. It keeps us as humans feeling purpose and passion. And so we did add that pillar into the wellness wheel, which became 8, which is a better number than 7 because it's nice and even. But before VFit was VFit, so when my oldest daughter, Emmy, was born, and I was getting into health and wellness and teaching at the gym, I reconnected with a college friend. And she's going to be 13, so about 13 years ago. And we wanted to put something out into the world that was different than the diet culture and the deprivation and just the negative aspect that went with health of like count your calories. You can't do this. Don't do this. This is bad. You're doing this to undo that. And so we put together this framework of these 7 pillars of health, and we made a fun little challenge out of it where you try to get points in each category each day for 21 days, which here we are 13 years later, full circle. But the idea of this framework just has stuck with me and everything that I coach and lead. And I look at it as mind, body, spirit, because we are not just our physical health, right? If you've done you've done my RISE program, we're our emotional health, we're our spiritual health, we're our mental health and our physical health. And so if you look at what pours into all of those, I think these pillars are just the best framework for everybody's life because you can kind of fine tune what you need from them, which is beautiful, right? Because we're not all a one size fits all person. And so we kind of have guidelines for what we feel each pillar like minimum should be filled with, but you might be like, I don't need that much sleep, or I need more water, or I need more sleep. Like there's not a black and white, which was hard for some people that want to be told exactly what to do. But again, this is to tune into you deeper. And so let me just share a picture. Again, I teach this on willpower some Saturdays. I like to come to it quarterly. I personally here I am trying to act like I'm in class sharing my, okay, I had it up. Okay, can we see this? So this is the wellness wheel, which is this is my favorite way to visualize the 8 pillars of health, which is to take a wheel, a circle, cut it into four pieces and then cut it again into four pieces. So it makes eight little slices of pizza, pie, whatever you like want to think about it. And each of these serve as a component of your life, right? Each day we have the opportunity to try to fill each of these components. And every day we're not going to hit them all. That's not the goal of it. But the point is to have a framework of reference. And this is where it's really been life changing for so many of us. We were just talking about it on the trainer team. Like, man, especially this time of year, I don't know if it's just me, but it can't be because it's been a lot of people I've talked to. Like, things can just feel kind of heavy. Like the days, it's the darker, colder days, it's the change of seasons. There seems to be just a lot of heaviness going on. And you can notice yourself in like little funks or downward spirals. And this is where the pillars come in as like a checklist, I say check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'll tell a couple personal examples. It's also a frame of reference when you're on a peak, right? When you're doing really well, when you're feeling joy and passion in your life. I think we overlook a lot of times all the good things we're doing for ourselves to feel that way. And so this is a framework, like I said, you can use it in the valleys, you can use it on the peaks, you use it on the mountain climbs, you use it on the way down. Like it's always shifting and changing. So I look at these eight pillars, and you kind of, if you do this enough, you don't even have to actually like physically color this in. But I have on a sheet that I do every week. I just kind of go in and I color in like, am I full? Am I empty? So starting from the middle would be empty. And then the further out that you fill in, the better you're doing in that pillar. And then you kind of have a visual. And every time you're like, oh, that's what's going on, or that's what's off, or here. And there's times where you might be empty on a lot of them. It's really hard to make too many changes at once. It's actually usually unsustainable, and why most people fail and continue. They're trying to do too much at once. So if you really find you're in an empty fit part of life right now, just start with one or two that you can start to get some success and build some air into. So this kind of a visual, and I like to give an analogy like a tire. If it's all in the middle, like say you're at like 1 to 2 or 3s in all your categories, if you were to rate yourself between a 1 being empty and a 5 being like, I'm nailing this right now. If your wheel is all kind of 1, 2s, and 3s, it might still roll, right? But it's going to take a lot more energy. You're going to feel a lot more drained. You're just going to feel more on empty. Whereas if your wheel is more full all the way around, that's those times of life where you're like, I'm feeling good, I'm inspired, I feel some energy and passion. And then for most of us, what is more realistic is that you just have seasons where some parts are empty or lacking, and that kind of feels like a flat tire. Like literally your life, you're like, man, some things are going really well, some things I'm really struggling with. So it kind of just feels like you're bump bump like a flat tire is how I like to think of that analogy the most. And so that's the wellness wheel. I can send it to everyone. It's in all of our VFit resources. A lot of you have done this in holiday hustles and summer groups. And again, this is a tool weekly, monthly, at least quarterly. Because like I said, things are always changing. And if we're not aware, that's where we start to spiral. And a spiral is that it's going to get momentum the further it starts to spiral down. And so the idea behind the eight pillars and what I've seen and love is that it's kind of your checking point for yourself of what's really going on. What are your priorities, right? Your schedule doesn't lie, how you're spending your days. I'll go into the pillars, but this last week we had, and this is why I think it's important to check in with these pillars. I was really struggling. And again, it hasn't been that long, so it's not that huge of a deal. But this last week, we've had some pretty huge stuff going on over in my community and just with close people, and wildfire and loss of homes and just, ravaged. And I found myself like not being able to get out of bed in the morning. It was the weirdest. I'd never had this where I felt like I got just clicked into this like instant, like almost like depression, which I think is very normal. We can all relate. And like things I never struggled with, like wanting to get up and exercise or go be social. Like I was finding myself really struggling. And I came back and I was like, okay, sometimes you've just got to put the momentum and make yourself do some of these things. So we'll start with the first one, which is exercise, which is movement, which we all know. Motion is lotion. I mean, there's no denying, even just going for a walk, moving your body, you're going to release happy chemicals. You're going to clear your head. You're going to calm your central nervous system. So we on the pillars, kind of the bottom framework would be 15 minutes, right? It doesn't have to be a full out workout. I was in a hotel and I was like, you have to do 3 Tabata sets. Like, just get your heart rate up, see how you feel. Like, I was coaching myself, and that's all I did. But sure enough, I felt better. I hit that, like, okay, I'm going to do 15 minutes. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe, it doesn't have to be for you getting your heart rate up and going crazy. And a lot of these blend together. This is what I love about the pillars. It's not like a 2 hour a day. I mean, some of these, your exercise could be the next one, which is getting outside. And actually, Lindsay, trainer Lindsay, and other Lindsay B probably just got tons of outside time. She was in Costa Rica. Um, do you find yourself, and I find this with a lot of people, like, especially in the darker, colder parts of the year, or maybe the people that live where it's really hot and humid, and or in a city. I've heard this from a lot of people that live maybe in like a big city. We can live in a day and age where you like literally don't have to leave your house. You can get anything delivered. You can go through a drive-through. I mean, we've talked about this, Alicia, too, right? With your long shifts at the hospital, like a lot of shift workers that work like 12-hour shifts at the hospital. You can all of a sudden just especially when the day is like, you go to work when it's dark, you get off when it's dark. Like, so the thing with being outside, and again, maybe you're not going to hit it every day, but maybe you're in a period where you're just not making an intention for that. Maybe you can start to hit it a couple times a week where, again, that one's a 15 minutes. It's enough to just shock the system into like breathing fresh air, hearing nature, the energy changes. We tend to unplug outside. Blair, I know you're a huge nature person. For many of us, nature, it feeds your soul. Like, you feel, think about all of you, your happy place in the world. And I guarantee it's probably a lake or an ocean or a mountain or something outdoorsy. Um, Maybe not, but I know all of you here. So think about, how do I get myself outside? Um, whether it's a walk, like on your break, you should have at least a 15-minute break or something in your day where you're going to just go outside, get those steps in, unplug. One of our members, she made a route for herself to her mailbox and back. Maybe it's checking. I love this part. Checking as the seasons. Right now, we just went through fall here. Happens pretty quick, but like every day trying to be like, I'm going to go look at the changing of the colors of the leaves and the landscape. And it also, and Mel Robbins talks about this, getting outside and seeing the vastness of God's creation and the world and however you relate with it, it makes you like into perspective. Like, we're just a small being for this small amount of time here. Like, just, it just gives you this different level of appreciation. So outside it doesn't always have to be something huge, but if you can get that fresh air, it really does make a difference. Um, Food, that's a pillar of health. What you eat is your fuel, like you would put in your car, or you're plugging your electronics. So what you eat is so important. And this is the one where people want to be told exactly what to do. But we're not all the same. Like, on an intuitive level, you know what your body needs. You know if you're eating too much sweets, if you're crashing. You know that if you're not, getting some vegetables. And that's another thing. Like, maybe kale is considered a superfood, but every time you eat it, like, your stomach hurts and you feel like you got to go run to the bathroom. Like, that's probably not the best food for you, right? We're all so different. And so when it comes to food, I don't really like to give it the full 80-20 rule, but kind of, am I eating nourishing food as often as I can, and leaving room for some of those treats or sweets, or noticing when life is stressful. I am just reminded of this right now. Like, some of us tend to go for the sweets and the food. I'm like the opposite. Like, everything, so I don't want to eat. And I'm just like in that anxious, like, so that's not good either, right? We've got to eat food that's energy, that sustains us. And so eating nourishing food. If you have one-off meal, like, especially going to the holidays, you go to a party and you enjoy the fondue bar and then follow it with a sundae bar. You don't have to then tomorrow go to donuts for breakfast and then pizza for lunch. Like you get to make a choice each time to, choose food that fuels you. So food is a big one. Uh, you could be outside on a walk eating your lunch. Look at, there you go. You get three pillars at once. Um, Hydration, water. Again, another thing, your body, it's a non-negotiable. Like every system in your body relies on being hydrated. Your brain functions, they're finding a lot of studies too. People that are dehydrated, especially long term, are having more cognitive issues and cognitive. So if you think about brain or water as kind of that um, pillow, it's not really a pillow, but it's kind of what keeps the pipes running and keeps everything going. So I mean, there's no exact science. They say half your body weight in ounces. You can go off to eight cups a day. If you're someone that drinks like a cup or two, and this happens, this is actually one of the pillars people I think struggle with the most through doing a lot of this. If you're drinking 1 to 2 cups a day, maybe just try to add an extra cup for a couple of days and build up, because especially if you're not drinking a lot, you're going to be going to the bathroom more. So you're going to get a little bit more exercise. You're welcome. But your body, you'll know, right? Like the color of your pee doesn't lie, your skin. With water, it is also something, right? You have to be like able to absorb it. So what is the right amount of water for you? I find like where we live, the water tastes really good because it's exactly what they use for Crystal Geyser bottled water. So find water that you like, maybe measure it out, maybe add some essential oils or fresh citrus. Citrus helps you absorb water better. Um, Coffee, alcohol, stuff with caffeine, that doesn't count as water. Not to say you can't have that, but don't, that does, that doesn't count towards your water. Um, Bubble water, if it's non like sweetened and full of lots of stuff, like that can count. I find like I don't feel hydrated when I drink bubble water, but I just don't really like bubble water. But if you like bubble water, it makes you drink water. The LaCroix, the like pretty cleaner ones. Again, this is about adding. Um, Me time. I love this one because this is was my weakest. I want to say I'm definitely between Rise and BFit and everything we do around here. Are you doing something to just fill your tank? And this can come in your morning routine. This is where it comes for me every day. It's like, do I take some time? Yes, Sarah, you should love your me time, because if not, I feel like I have to have that grounding in the morning. And I found during this last week, that's been a really tough week, like that's kind of been my rock solid pillar. Like I have not missed that. Like I know how much I need that. So maybe it's reading, journaling, again, taking a walk. Like me time doesn't have to be a pedicure or a massage. Like, are you doing something that you're like, this allows me to just feel like I can breathe and exercise? I think that's a beautiful me time. When it's done as a reward, like, okay, this is going to get me through my day. So I think me time, especially for a lot of us, in parts of our life, whether you're working a demanding job, raising a family, like the me time. And I will tell you, I'm not going to name names because it's a small community out here, but I notice there are so many adults, and Mel Robbins talks about this too. She's funny. Like she says the average adult is like a walking 8-year-old as far as emotional stability. Most people, and you see this right now because a lot of things are bubbling up, and it's a interesting climate out there in the world, and people are letting everything consume them energy wise. They're not taking their time for me, and they're not emotionally regulated. And if that's you, that's okay, but you've got to get a hold of that. You've got to figure out, how can I have emotional regulation? Because not anybody else's. We had an incident at our school today. Again, everyone deals with different stress and parts of life, but where an adult got out of line with kids, and if we can catch that stuff, we're going to live in a better world. So me time, I think, is kind of, I really am finding it like that's my emotional regulating time. Like I have a better control. Sleep. Oh, sleep. That's another one. People either are really good at, I need my sleep. My husband's pretty good without sleep. But the average person needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The me time one was to do something for yourself. 15 minutes. Again, not 15 minutes. It's kind of a simple rule of like, that's enough to rewire you. More obviously is better, but that's not always possible. So sleep, not 15 minutes. That one's 7 or more hours. Again, if you're raising young kids, if you're in shift work, if you're going through certain parts of hormonal changes, sometimes we can't control that. But are you setting an environment for yourself? Are you unplugging? Are you calming yourself? Are you doing things to allow yourself to sleep? I know Sarah and Rise, that was one of the things you were really working on, like not just doing after everyone goes to bed, trying to catch up, but making sure that you had that evening evening routine. Or maybe we talk about the snooze button a lot. Like allow yourself, snoozing is not good sleep. Set your alarm when you have to wake up and just make that commitment to yourself. That's when I'm going to get up. If you snooze, you're not getting good sleep because you're kind of in a half sleep. So I'd rather sleep the extra, like when I have to actually wake up. And then you're also, that's your first commitment to yourself of the day is like, I'm going to wake up. And if you're retired, maybe you're at the point where you don't have to even worry about that. And that's such a blessing that you've earned. But it is, if you are someone that has an alarm and you want to get up and do your me time and your exercise and all those things, that's a commitment you've made to yourself. And so if we snooze, we're already letting ourselves off the hook. So sleep, that's a pillar for me. If that one is out of whack, it is like a bowling bin of like everything else. I don't want to exercise. I'm grumpy. Like sleep for me that's the wrecking ball pillar, that when that one's not good, everything else just tends. So I could think about the pillars too, like each their individual keystones. And once you take one away, the wall like starts to crumble. That's why it's important to look at them all. There's two more. Gratitude. This has been, I'm so glad that I've been gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. It is a lifestyle. It becomes a way of life. And it doesn't mean that you're someone that's just like ignorant or just skipping like on cloud nine, although that'd be a better place to live anyways. Gratitude is seeing the good in your life, seeing what and it's a framework. We cannot, at the same time, your brain cannot have a negative thought or a fearful thought or a self-limiting belief or a doubt and then gratitude. They cannot coexist at the same time. Now they can feel like they do because it can be like this thought, then this thought, then this thought, then this thought, but they cannot happen at the same exact time. And so if you're able, like this is one that like once you find yourself going down that negative route, are you, and it can happen a lot by who you're around. If you're around a lot of people that are always seeing the negative, if you work in a toxic work environment, if you're constantly watching the news or doom scrolling Facebook, and it's like gonna feed you whatever you click on. So you got to be really careful. Like even if you're kind of intrigued, like just know if you click that, you're gonna just be fed a bunch of that same thing. And so gratitude is a lifestyle. It is a constant work in progress. And it's the one pillar, and I believe this and I know it, that we can have access to every single day. We have the opportunity to have that box checked. Do we do it perfectly? I don't, I'll admit it, but I do it darn well than probably a lot more people out there outside of the VFit world, because it is something just like squats and push-ups, and it is just a constant work, constant pouring into, right? You don't get like fit and healthy and then you're like, okay, cool, I'm like totally in shape. I got the biceps I want. I can climb this mountain and ride my bike, and then I don't need to work on that anymore. It's like, no, you got to, if you want to stay there, you got to keep putting into it. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. It can start with just writing one appreciation a day. That's where you start, one appreciation a day. And then you start to look for those opportunities. You start to catch yourself. And sometimes you have to just say the gratitudes. Maybe you don't even believe it yet. Maybe it feels kind of fake. And I promise if you keep doing it, you're going to see there's nothing too little to be grateful for. Like our friends, that's why I said I was late. Their cat went missing in the fire, and they just, today, 6 days later, their cat came back, and like, I don't know, I just think of like, she's like, and I mean, with pets, it's kind of a silly example because of course she'd be grateful for that. But it was just this like, like there's something to be grateful for. And then I'll go to that last one, which is connection. And it's how we're wired as humans. It's just, if you look at the blue zones in the world, which means the areas of the world that have the longest quality of life, meaning you're not just like these people still have quality of life. Connection is one of those pillars. And actually, a lot of these are, but it is having that ability to connect with other humans, to be seen, to be accepted. And it's hard, especially those of us that struggle with vulnerability or with having been hurt or abandoned or the hard things. It could feel easier to put yourself on an island. It can feel easier not to be part of a group or a community, but it will eating junk food and being stressed and stuff all the time. And I love that they're actually doing scientific studies on gratitude and connection, that you have a healthier life. And it makes so much sense because you have less stress and inflammation in the body, which we know are huge indicators for chronic disease. And so this isn't just woohoo, so I feel good in my head stuff. This is like longevity and quality of life. So those are the 8 pillars. Again, we have stickers made of it at VFit. We have, like I said, this tool you can print 52 of them out and do it once a week. Or I'll share if you're interested. The reset is only going to be open to members. It's going to be $39 for 21 days. Again, I'm giving you all the tools. So it's not about if you want to do this on your own, you absolutely have the opportunity to do this. This is also in our member only group at VFit. So again, you have access to this to print it at any time. This was a tool created during the holiday hustle last year, and we're going to use it again. But again, like I said, this is here for you to use whenever you want. It's just, I don't know, if I like community and accountability when I do stuff. But I encourage you, if this speaks to you tonight at all and you're feeling a little lost, I call this your adult sticker chart. And you'd print one out. I like to do one for the whole week because maybe that week didn't go as planned. You get a new blank sheet next week. And you just go through like Monday, Tuesday, whatever, however you want to write this. You can literally give yourself a sticker. You could write something in there. You can color it in. Like, and the goal is to, just like your kids when you're potty training them or pet training. Well, pets don't really care about sticker charts, but I believe and I know to my core, positive reinforcement is the key to long-term success and commitment. It's just the only way that it happens. And so this is, you're never going to get dinged if you don't get something. It's just awareness like, whoa, I really am not getting anything in that water pillar. Or the cool thing is once you do this for a week, you then have a visual of like, wow, this one full every day. Food, ooh, this one's a little finicky. Connection dialed in, water. And like I said, in another month, this could look completely different, depending where you're at in life, seasonally, like the nature seasons in your own life. And so that's kind of my jam on the pillars. I just love this topic. I think there's not been a group that I have presented this to that it hasn't hit, there's no age limit on this. There's no period of time where this doesn't work as a framework for everybody. And so I think, I have to be reminded of it. We talk about it on the trainer team all the time. We come back like into these pillars and, you know, just tune back in. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I didn't know how long this would take, so I gave us like 45 minutes, but I don't need to keep us much longer. Or if you all want to share what, and 43 years, Sarah, it took you. That's okay. That's not 99 years. So I feel like we get the wisest in our 40s or and beyond, right? Isn't that, someone told me that when I was scared to turn 40, they're like, you stop giving as many hoots and you start focusing on what really matters. So yeah, does anyone have a pillar they want to work on more, one again, or something going well, or any shares or takeaways? Um, Again, thank you for coming and being part of this. And yeah, if you want, you'll be seeing about the reset. Again, I didn't actually plan this all together. I had planned, in all honesty, was just asked by another member to give this presentation to her group. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I just loved doing it. And then I was realizing how much I needed a reset. Then I planned this workshop. And then I was just realizing like, I just need a reset, like not a 6 week, not an 8 week, not like, I just need like a 21 day reset. And I'm like, I'm sure other people are going to want this. And if not, that's okay. I'm still going to do it. And I looked at the calendar. I'm like, how perfect, December 1st to the 21st. That's right after Thanksgiving, right before the end of the year. And then I was like, well, I planned the workshop like this, all these God winks about doing this. So either way, take these tools, team. That's what they're here for. Oh, yeah, I told you, I knew you'd like the reset, Alicia. And oh, it's good to see you, Blair. Cam, I love having you here. I get to see you in class a lot. Sarah, who else just was um, here? See, I already have, oh, Coach B. And then whoever will have this recorded and feel free to reach out to me. It's always good to just be reminded too. I think we feel like, oh, I've already done that or I know that. And it's not the way we're wired to continually come back to these things. So even if you've heard this 100 times, I hope it's something stuck differently tonight. And look, now it's getting dark outside, and that's the problem. Feels like bedtime already. So, good refresher. Yes, I needed it too. So, I mean, like I said, all these things keep happening where it's like, boom, boom, come back to the roots, come back to the roots. And these are definitely our deepest roots around here. So, all right, well, have a beautiful night, my friends, and reach out if you have any questions. Yes, always, thank you. And thank you for being here. All right, bye.